Domestically, my agreement with Ron Paul's proposed policies and principles is complete. For the sake of openness and honesty, I confess that I do not share Dr. Paul's call for an immediate withdrawal of American troops from Iraq. However, I am still in favor of Dr. Paul's election and the actualization of his campaign proposals, and I do not believe that an American withdrawal from Iraq, if Dr. Paul succeeds in bringing it about, will lead to substantial harm. I encourage all advocates of liberty who question the wisdom of an immediate withdrawal from Iraq to support Dr. Paul's campaign nonetheless, for the following reasons. First, the immediate withdrawal Dr. Paul advocates will not in fact be immediate. If Dr. Paul gets elected, he will be inaugurated president in January 2009, which will be the earliest time a full withdrawal will take place. Between now and then, there are 13 months for the American military to finish its job in Iraq. This is surely a sufficient amount of time, especially if the recent troop surge and the leadership of General Petraeus are as successful as many proponents of the occupation claim. If the American military remains in Iraq without substantive progress by January 2009, I too will call for an immediate withdrawal of troops, because by then, the Second Persian Gulf War will have lasted longer than the entirety of World War II. If it took the Allies 6 years, 3 of which were losing years, to defeat the enormously powerful Axis dictatorships, then surely it cannot justifiably take longer to pacify a small Middle Eastern country over whose insurgents the U.S. Army has every conceivable military and economic advantage. Second, I would rather have the United States abandon the entirety of its foreign military presence than to have the power of the federal government over my life increase by 1 iota at home. The greatest threats to America today are not external. The Islamic fundamentalist terrorists are weak and desperate, and their suicide bombings are acts of desperation, not of power. They cannot bring down the military, economic, and social might of the United States. But our own politicians can, through hyper-taxation, hyper-regulation, hyperinflation, and a coming wave of nationalizations and restrictions on technological progress. No other candidate in either major party seems to have the courage or the conviction to resist this onslaught of statism. Only Ron Paul has shown, through decades of an unimpeachable political record and equally impeccable personal conduct, that he has the virtues and abilities required of a statesman who would reverse the direction of American politics. Of all the candidates running, only Ron Paul can bring back a strictly limited government and a maximum of individual freedom. The choice before us is quite simple: runaway inflation and crushing taxes, or Ron Paul; socialized health care, or Ron Paul; environmental regulations that bring technological progress to a grinding halt, or Ron Paul; ever-growing government intrusion in our economic and personal lives, or Ron Paul; complete eventual socialism, or Ron Paul. I have made my choice. What choice will you make?